Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at thedove.us.
Well, last time I went back to my homeland, Russia, there were churches being built everywhere. People were going to services, reading their Bibles, studying scriptures, believing in God, and really living the Bible. Well, but 40 years ago, and 30 years ago, and even 20 years ago, that wasn't the case. And today I'm joined in the studio by Kathy Vobora, who is someone that witnessed that Soviet Russia firsthand. She went there in the 70s, and now she has a book out, autobiography called Journey into Darkness. Welcome, Kathy. Thank you for being with us today. And I want to start by reading a paragraph that I saw on Amazon on your book page. She passes a border barrier for a hostile environment and answers questions from an abrupt guard speaking in another language. Inside her traveling partner's car is hidden Christian literature. Her name is Kathy Vobora, and she is a Bible smuggler. So I want to start this conversation by asking you, how do you become a Bible smuggler? I mean, did you grow up thinking about this?
I did not. Actually, it was a series of miracles that would take a long time to go over, but I'll try to be brief.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in San Francisco at the time. A pastor friend of mine visited Eastern Europe and Russia, and he actually smuggled Bibles into Czechoslovakia, which only happens to be my father's birth country. That is why my name is Vobora, Czech name. And he came back with his story. Kathy, I met Stefan, the director of a small group in Austria. They smuggle Bibles into Eastern Europe and Russia. He'd love for you to work for them. How about coming? And so in shock and awe, I said yes. And 4 months later, he called me in January of '75, actually. And in June of '75, I headed for Europe.
So what was it like, Russia, Eastern Europe back then?
Russia, Eastern Europe reminded me of America perhaps 100 years ago with the horse and the wagon. And very picturesque, totally different world, which I enjoyed tremendously. Obviously vastly different from my home country of America.
And so as a Bible smuggler, I guess that was your main purpose to be there, right?
Yes.
Can you explain to us the process of that? How did you guys do it? Who was there? How did you went through security, if there was any?
Certainly. What we did is we went, my partner and I, a young Dutch woman from Holland, she and I were partners, and we went in as tourists. We obtained, of course, passports from our home countries, America and Holland, and then we always obtained a visa for the country we would be entering at that point in time. And we dressed like any tourist would, you know, two young women in their 20s at that point in time. And when we came to the border, one particular border guard asked us, actually, he said, well, are you smuggling anything in? And we just smiled and said no. And we thought to ourselves, well, how could two young women be dangerous? How could two young women be a threat? And so God protected us, even in our saying no, He protected us, and we proceeded into the country. Another time, once again, Czechoslovakia being very dear to my heart, we were on the border, in the border offices, and we were facing 5 guards seated at 5 tables in a semicircle. The first guard at the first table opened my passport. He saw my name, Vobora. He recognized it. And he instantly changed from cold and threatening to warm and inviting. He said, welcome to our country, with a big smile on his face. And I stood up very proudly and as courageously as I could, and I said, my father was born in Czechoslovakia.
Once you got into the country, whether it was Czechoslovakia, Russia, or any other ones, what happened then? How did you actually deliver Bible to people? Did you look for those people, or did you already know some circles of people that were, hungry for the Word of God?
We had actually been given names by our director in Austria, whom he had contacted in months or years previous, once again by secret, protected means. And so we had names with us of contacts and how many Bibles we were to deliver, and addresses and such, and we always carried a map with us. And once again, outwardly, we just looked like normal tourists.
And you just gave Bibles? There were no less, Bible studies. Your job was to give the Bibles.
Bibles and Christian books.
Okay.
People loved books by Billy Graham, especially. They knew Billy Graham. In Eastern Europe and Russia, they knew Billy Graham, and they loved his books.
Were you scared?
Oh yes, we're human. We were scared. The border that intimidated me the greatest was East Germany. A lot of Americans know about Checkpoint Charlie in East Germany. And yes, and the Berlin Wall, of course. And yes, we did go through Checkpoint Charlie. The border guard asked us, are you carrying any guns, ammunition, or weapons? Just flat out, just directly ask us that question. And we were two young women, not men. So that took me back a little bit. But once again, we got safely through that border.
Did you, one there, did you ever encounter any confrontation? Did you ever get in trouble, jail, anything?
Yes, we did go through confrontation with the KGB in Russia. We did. And that story is described in detail in my book. I hesitate a bit to go into detail on that in my interview because I want people to read the book.
Okay, then we won't go there. We'll leave it for. Did you ever? So when you were there and you met with people, real people, and somehow you dealt with the language and you were able to talk to them, did you see that their faith perhaps was different than of people here who did not have persecution?
Yes, absolutely. There was before I ever went to do this, one of my heart cries was, Lord, I want to meet people whose lives are on the line and who will not give up their faith no matter what. And the Lord answered that prayer when I met these people. Absolutely, people of depth and commitment, and they would not give up. No, absolutely, they would not, give up, meaning they would not deny their faith.
What were they looking for? Because I know that, we have, we distribute Word for You Today around the world. We have missionaries that we talk to, and when I talk to some people in Siberia about their missionary work, they said the most common question they hear from people in the very remote areas is, how do I get to heaven? Just, simple, how do I get to heaven? I don't care about theology, I don't care about a lot of things that you guys care about. I just want to be in heaven. Perry, I've heard him say that in Indonesia, people, their first question is, does God love me? And how do I get, to feel that love? What was the question and concerns that you hear from people in the Eastern Bloc back then?
Well, mainly from believers, it's that because of the constant presence of the police or the military, the danger of being detected, the danger of being fined or going to prison was always uppermost. We visited a pastor with a printing press hidden in his apartment building, and we were asking him about the printing press, and he said, shh, be quiet, there's neighbors in my building who could report me to the police. If the police knew I had a printing press, they would come, destroy the printing press, and I would go to prison. Yeah. And so we were always, we had to be very, very careful how we spoke and how quietly we spoke in case there would be anyone around who would overhear and report to the police.
It's so true. I mean, even now, sometimes I hear, when I go back, people of the old generation, older generations that say the walls can hear, because there's just ingrained in your memory that you have to, on all important issues, be quiet.
Yes, if I may go further, when I was in Russia, we were visiting in a lovely home, and there was a piano in the home, and I happened to play piano, dearly loved the piano, and dearly loved the song, How Great Thou Art. So I sang in English, my partner in Dutch, and our believers' family in Russian. And my emotion was greatly touched, and I started singing loud. And once again, the father became very alarmed. He said, shh, we can't do this. Others may report us to the police.
Looking at what's happening now in this country and in the world, and having been there where, in the midst of persecution, does it scare you to see what's happening? Do you see, even though you said Russia was like America 100 years ago, do you see America becoming a little more like Russia in the Soviet Union?
I see America tragically becoming, how do I express it, less interested in God, and needing to be aware that persecution may come our way someday, that God may in fact allow persecution, and Americans to wake up to that, to be aware of that, to accept it, and to say, Lord, we need revival in this country.
No, that would be an answer to prayers. Your book is out. You published it last year, about 40 years since you've been there. You said, you told me before the interview that you have a dream. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely. I have a dream that's been in my heart and spirit for years. This is not a spontaneous thing at this point in my life. It's been with me for many years. And that is that a movie should be made on the book that I've written, the stories, not because of me, no, absolutely not, but because of what God brought my partner and I through, and to bring people to Yeshua, to Jesus, and to make them aware, to remind them, to encourage them that if persecution should come to our country, as it may well be the case, that God will always be with us, He will care for us, He will never abandon us, no matter what He may call us to go through.
Yeah. Well, I hope the dreams come true, and maybe if you're listening, and if you're a rich producer or director and would like to take on this project, I think that would make for a fascinating movie. Kathy, thank you for being with us. I really want you to tell some of the stories, and I'm going to wait a couple of months to have you back. I'm going to let all of you to have a chance to get this book, read it, and maybe then Kathy will be able to tell me some of the stories. Thank you again for being with us, and God bless you.
God bless you, my pleasure.